Hey everyone, this is Peter, and welcome back to the History Shorts. Today's episode is brought to you by the Podcast Republic, your ultimate listening app. Discover and subscribe to thousands of podcasts from around the world, including this one, and all in one place. Download Podcast Republic today, available on Google Play and the Apple App Store. Today on History Shorts. It's June 1918. The First World War is raging across Europe. German armies are surging toward Paris. The exhausted Allied lines are crumbling. Into this chaos steps a force the world barely knows: the United States Marine Corps. In the dense forests of northern France, at a place called Belleau Wood, the Marines will fight one of the bloodiest, most legendary battles in their history. A battle that would define them forever.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
A quick word from our sponsors. This day in history. December 15th, 1791, one of the most defining documents in American life officially takes effect: the Bill of Rights. 10 amendments: freedom of speech, freedom of religion, the right to a fair trial, protection from unreasonable searches. All added to the Constitution not as a decoration, but as a promise that the new government made to its citizens. December 15th, 1939, Hollywood made history with the premiere of Gone with the Wind in Atlanta. It became one of the most successful films ever made, and also one of the most controversial, criticized today for romanticizing the Old South and ignoring the realities of slavery. Story of the day: the U.S. Marines' mythic fight at Belleau Wood. By the spring of 1918, World War I had entered its fourth brutal year. Millions were dead, and the Western Front stretched from the North Sea to the Alps, a scar of trenches, barbed wire, and shattered towns. Then in March, Germany launched the Spring Offensive, a massive gamble to win the war before American reinforcements could arrive in full strength. The offensive ripped through British and French lines, sending Allied troops into retreat. By early June, German forces were within just 50 miles of Paris. The French government prepared to evacuate. Refugees fled the capital. The bells of Notre Dame were packed for transport. And in the desperate moment, the Allies turned to the newest and least experienced soldiers on the entire front: the Americans. The United States had declared war in April of 1917, but it took time to raise, train, and then ship troops across the Atlantic. By mid-1918, only a fraction of the American expeditionary forces under General John J. Pershing had reached France. Among them was a small, proud contingent of U.S. Marines. The Marines were used to small wars and interventions in the Caribbean, in Central America, in China, but they had never faced modern industrial warfare. And now they were being rushed to the front to plug a collapsing line. On June 1st, 1918, German troops broke through near the Marne River, capturing the village of Château-Thierry and threatening the road to Paris. The French commander on the scene, desperate for reinforcements, pointed to the Marines and said, "You will hold where you stand." Their reply became immortal: "Retreat? Hell, we just got here." The Marines took position along the rolling wheat field bordered by a dark, tangled forest, or the Belleau Wood. The Germans were dug in among the trees, protected by machine guns, artillery, and tangled wire. The wood had been shelled for days, reduced to a maze of splintered trunks and craters. At dawn on June 6th, the Marines were ordered to attack. No one expected what came next. The Marines had to cross open ground, hundreds of yards of waist-high wheat, straight into enemy fire. The Germans waited silently until the Americans were in range, and then unleashed a storm of machine gun bullets. These machine guns cut through the fields. Whole platoons went down. The survivors hit the dirt, crawling forward inch by inch. Private William Anderson later recalled, "It seemed the wheat itself was bleeding." Despite the slaughter, the Marines kept coming, shouting, cursing, charging in small groups, bayonets fixed, and by nightfall, they had taken the southern edge of the wood. The cost, however, was staggering, nearly 1,000 casualties on just the first day alone. But the attack had stopped the German advance cold. Over the next 3 weeks, Belleau Wood became a living nightmare, a brutal contest of endurance fought yard by yard. The Marines attacked, were repelled, and then attacked again. The Germans counterattacked with gas shells and flamethrowers. The forest burned. The air reeked of cordite, blood, and smoke. Snipers lured in the trees. Machine guns hid among the roots. At times, the fighting was so close that men grappled hand to hand in the mud. One Marine officer, Captain Lloyd Josh Williams, described it simply. There was no rear. There was no front. There was only the wood and death. The Germans began calling the Marines Devil Dogs, a nickname that would follow them forever. The Marines wore it like a badge of honor. Among the Marines at Belleau Wood was one of the Corps' greatest legends, Gunnery Sergeant Dan Daly. Daly was already a 2-time Medal of Honor recipient, known for his fearlessness and grit. On the morning of June 6th, as his company prepared to charge across the wheat field, Daly supposedly stood up amid the firestorm and yelled, "Come on, you sons of bitches! Do you want to live forever?" The line, whether actually spoken or not, became one of the most famous in Marine Corps history. Daly survived the battle, and though he didn't receive a 3rd Medal of Honor, his words came to define the Marine spirit, courage against the impossible odds. For 21 days, the fight raged inside Belleau Wood. Each attack meant clearing another tangle of trenches, tree roots, and machine gun nests. Casualties mounted on both sides. The Marines fought alongside U.S. Army infantry and French troops, coordinating artillery barrages and night assaults. One officer described the forest as a green hell, shredded by shell fire until it resembled a field of broken skeletons. On June 26, 1918, after weeks of combat, the Germans finally retreated. The last message sent from Marne headquarters was, "Woods now entirely, U.S. Marine Corps." The Battle of Belleau Wood was over. The cost was horrific. More than 9,000 Marines were killed or wounded, the bloodiest fight in Marine Corps history up to that point. But their sacrifices had indeed stopped the German drive on Paris and turned the tide of the war's final year. Belleau Wood made the Marines legends. Before 1918, they were a small branch of the U.S. military, known mostly for guarding ships and fighting small colonial wars. After Belleau Wood, they were seen as shock troops, the fiercest fighters in the American arsenal. General Pershing himself declared, "The deadliest weapon in the world is the United States Marine and his rifle." The French were so impressed that they renamed Belleau Wood the Wood of the Marine Brigade. They also awarded the Marines France's highest military honor for valor in the field. For the Corps, the battle became sacred history, a story told to every generation of Marines as proof of who they were and what they can endure. Behind the legend, however, lay the unimaginable suffering. The battlefield was a graveyard. After the battle, the stench of death supposedly hung for weeks. Bodies lay tangled among the trees. Shell fire had uprooted every bush and turned the soil to ash. The wounded were evacuated through fields still under sniper fire. Many died waiting for medical aid. Letters home speak of exhaustion, nightmares, and disbelief. One Marine wrote, "There was no glory there, only survival." The youngest Marines were barely 19. Many had never seen combat before. Belleau Wood was their baptism by fire, and for thousands, their final resting place. Today, Belleau Wood is quiet. The forest has grown back, softening the scars of war. At its heart lies the American Cemetery, where 2,289 U.S. soldiers, including hundreds of Marines, rest beneath the rows of white crosses. Visitors can still walk the paths where the fighting raged, see the shell craters and trench lines, and read the names carved into the memorial chapel. In the shadow of the French countryside, the echo of that battle still lingers. In history news, an unexpected discovery beneath the Lincoln Memorial is making historians rethink what we thought we knew about that iconic monument. Deep in the undercroft, 45 feet below the statue of the 16th president, workers found a century-old sketch carved into concrete. It shows the profile of a woman with dark makeup and a cigarette, beside which someone wrote the word vamp. The official theory: the sketch may depict Theda Bara, the silent film era's first quote-unquote vamp, or a woman whose seductive, dangerous on-screen persona terrified and thrilled early 20th century audiences. Here's the catch: this graffiti was probably drawn during the construction of the memorial itself. Workers building the Lincoln Monument in the 1910s may have snuck down into the undercroft, seen a silent film poster or read a scandal sheet, and then left this tribute, or taunt, whichever, hidden in plain sight. As the memorial's new underground visitor center comes together, this cheeky human mark from a century ago is giving visitors a surprising story. A reminder that monuments aren't just stone and speeches. They're built by people with hopes, jokes, and sacred sketches. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you have any comments or questions, you can shoot me an email at peter@historyshortspodcast.com or visit www.historyshortspodcast.com or look for History Shorts Podcast on Facebook, X, and Patreon. Have a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you all tomorrow.